Heads up, because you're in the Hoodwood. I'm the Black Bandit KJ Green, welcoming you to another edition of Sports from the Hoodwood. Coming up in this edition, the Hoosiers take it all. Yes, the college football world is totally upside down. We'll detail how the Hoosiers finished off a perfect season. NFL's down to 4 teams, and how each one of these teams could actually take the crown in Santa Clara in 3 weeks. We'll look at basketball, we'll look at college basketball, we'll look at everything. Snuffy's cold. He's got fur. He's got a skull cap on. It's cold outside, but the takes are hot. It's Sports from the Hoodwood. Are you ready? Put your crash helmets on, buckle your seatbelts. Sports from the Hood's dead ahead. Let's go.
You're tuned in to Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for the most honest, unfiltered commentary and insight on the world of sports. Now, once again, here's Hoodwood's hometown hero, KJ Green.
Greetings from the Hoodwood, where college football is finally over with after countless months, but it already seems like it's been over too soon. I'm your man, KJ Green, welcoming you to another edition of the Hoodwood, and the dog just won't let me forget that I picked the U to beat Indiana. Indiana completing an absolutely improbable 16-0 season with a 27-21 triumph over the University of Miami in Miami's Hard Rock Stadium on Monday night. Fernando Mendoza capping off his Heisman winning season by leading the Hoosiers to a start-to-finish victory. It just seemed like the Hoosiers were never really threatened, though the game did get close. Miami did close the game 2-3 points a number of times, but couldn't just get over the hump to get the lead and get the victory. Carson Beck throwing an absolutely damaging interception late in the fourth quarter with the Canes on the Hoosier side of the 50 to basically shut out any chance of winning a title. And it surprised me how many Hoosier fans were actually in Miami for this game. I thought that it was going to be a very pro-tilted Miami crowd, being the game being played in the home stadium that the Canes now play in. I do miss the Orange Bowl, though, but the Canes were basically, it was about 50-50. If not a little bit, the Hoosier crowd was a little bit more boisterous for this game. And you think about it, the Hoosiers, the last 2 seasons were before their improbable playoff run last year and winning the title this year, were 9-27 before hiring Curt Cignetti, who becomes only the 4th college coach to win a national title in his first or second year at the helm. And I'm a Bearcat through and through, and everybody knows it. And it just pains me to think that John Cunningham didn't think Curt Cignetti was even worth an interview. He could have been in Clifton. This could have been us. No. I'm cool. I'm cool. I'm not going to get mad. I'm not going to get upset. I'm just going to tip my cap to the Hoosiers, who just seem to be relentless game after game. It was just like they weren't super flashy, though Fernando Mendoza did win the Heisman, the first for an Indiana player, though they just seem to always be that dominant team, game in, game out. And people forget, Old Dominion ran on their very first play from scrimmage to start the season, broke off a 75-yard touchdown. First play of this season, Indiana was behind 7-0 to Old Dominion. Now, they came back and won that game fairly easily, but many people didn't take Indiana seriously, even when they beat Ohio State in the Big Ten title. Ohio State fans were like, we're not worried about that. It's the January games that matter. Well, Ohio State got pushed out of the playoffs pretty easily by Miami. Indiana just kept chugging along. They won all 3 of their playoff games, not by, blowout margins, even though they absolutely destroyed Oregon and Alabama back to back. Miami gave them a good game, though it seemed that the Indiana's defense, so overlooked the whole season, just like a boa constrictor, just strangles you slowly, and you're just going, why can't I breathe? And you looked at the 3 games that Indiana played, and their defense was their calling card. They held a powerful Ohio, and go back even to the Big Ten title game. They held a powerful Ohio State team to 10 points. They held Alabama to 3 points. Who holds Alabama to 3 points? Indiana did. And then a high-powered Oregon offense that gave the Hoosiers probably their signature win of the season, but it was a tough win nonetheless, winning in Autzen Stadium. But the rematch was a joke. Indiana picked off the very first pass of the game on the first play for pick 6, and Oregon was just like, where's the door at? We're leaving. Though they did tie the game, but Oregon was not in the fight. They were out on their feet, and Indiana just wore them out. Now, Miami, of course, worked their way the long way through to the championship game. They didn't have a bye. They had to go on the road to College Station to beat Texas A&M. Did that in a defensive slugfest, showing off their defensive prowess. They then have faced the defending national champions, Ohio State. Many people said Ohio State was clearly the better team. Nobody gave the Canes that memo, though. They shut down a powerful Buckeyes offense, beating them 24-14. The game against Ole Miss was probably their best test. Both teams trading scores, going down to the last minute, Carson Beck driving the Canes to a game-winning score for the Canes to win 31-27. So now they're in the final, and they're against Indiana, who, as I said, has a very powerful, underrated defense. So now you're down to 2. As we detailed before, Indiana, Miami. The championship final started slow, both teams feeling each other out, but when Indiana scored, and then scored again and took a 10-0 lead into the half, people was going, well, Miami, they're a second half team. They're gonna really put it to they're gonna really take the fight to Indiana. People weren't giving the Hoosiers their props, and they shut them out in the first half, leading 10-0 after a field goal and a short touchdown by the Hoosiers, and that was the first half scoring. And everybody's like, Miami's a second half team. They're going to come out swinging. And they came out swinging. Mark Fletcher with a 57-yard touchdown run on an absolutely breathtaking run, hits the hole on his way to the end zone, untouched. You know, like Coach Lombardi used to say, create a seal here and a seal here and have the back run in the alley. That's exactly what he did. And Miami fans were like, yup, that's the Canes we're used to seeing. We're going to take the fight to them. Indiana's going to get hit in the mouth, and they're not going to know what to do. There's a problem, though. Miami made a fundamental mistake in the third quarter that I think, even though Indiana led all the way, but I think Miami's failure to let a punt go, Indiana was punting. Miami's going to get the ball down 10-7. You think, okay, drive the length of the field, at least tie the game, and then we're all square, and then it's anybody's game. Miami's punt returner, standing on his 10-yard line, backs up to catch punt. Fundamental error. You don't field punts inside your 10. Let the ball bounce. If the ball bounces and they kill, and Indiana dove on the ball and stopped it before the goal line, you give the special teams credit. But you field the ball and try to run it out, it just was a disaster. The Canes were trapped inside their 10-yard line. They went 3 and out and had to punt. The punt gets blocked. And Isaiah Jones pounces on the ball in the end zone. It's 17-7. And for all intents and purposes, even though Miami did get back in the game, for all intents and purposes, it seemed that the Canes were swimming upstream. Yes, they cut it to 3 again on another Fletcher run. But you just looked at the Canes like they're just struggling to keep up. The Hoosiers drive into Canes territory in the fourth quarter. Fernando Mendoza with a brilliant fourth down run. Curt Cignetti rolling the dice. He's only up 3. And one of a colleague of mine who is always wanting to eschew field goals. Why you always say put the points on the board? Why you always say put the points on the board? In this scenario, this was the correct play. Gambling with the fourth and 4 inside, deep inside Kane's territory. I'm thinking a short field goal. Okay, you kick a field goal, you're up 6. If you go for the touchdown or go for the first down and don't get it, you're deep in Kane's territory. They're going to have to basically drive the length of the field to take the lead. But you're putting the onus on the defense to make the stop. And if they can make the stop, you put the onus on the offense to drive the field and win and take the lead. But Mendoza makes a brilliant run, breaks several tackles, dives Superman like into the end zone. He reminded me of John Elway in Super Bowl 31, where he made the critical first down run and got helicoptered as he got hit, as he dove. He got hit by 2 different defenders, got spun around, but he landed, got the first down. That kind of run won that game for the Hoosiers. Put them up 10. And yes, the Canes closed it back to 3. But like I said before, they just seemed like they were swimming upstream. And the Hoosiers were that inevitable tidal wave that just was not going to let them breathe, not let them get any air. They kick a field goal, push it back to 6 with under 2 minutes to play, and you basically said, okay, win the game. This is where kicking a field goal, putting the points on the board was critical, because now you're forcing the opposition to drive the length of the field. Okay, you want to win the national championship, drive the length of the field to win the game. And my buddy Daryl just said it basically. Carson Beck is going to find a way to mess this up, and he did. He threw an interception. I'm not blaming Beck for the loss, but the Canes put him in a position where he could not win. And it was a great game. And I give the Hoosiers a lot of credit. I give the Canes a lot of credit because they stayed in the fight, but they were just swimming against the inevitable. Hoosier Daddy, the Indiana Hoosiers, they're the national champs. And then there were four NFL teams, that is. The divisional round of the NFL playoffs concluded over the weekend. And yeah, I tried to pick them all. And of course, I was right in some respects. I did say that the Broncos would beat the Bills, and they did in a thrilling overtime game. But the Broncos' 33-30 overtime win came at absolutely terrible cost. Bo Nix fractured his ankle in the overtime session, and despite the Broncos winning the game, and they will host the AFC title game, the illustrious Jarrett Stidham, who hasn't taken an NFL snap since 2023, will be leading the Broncos in the AFC title game. I just try to keep I try to keep from laughing hard about that, but he will have the reins, and Sean Payton, who is the quote-unquote quarterback whisperer, will have his work cut out for him to get the Broncos to their first Super Bowl in 10 seasons. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Saturday slate, oh my goodness, wait a minute. What? Yeah, the Seahawks just scored again. What the Seahawks did to the 49ers shouldn't have happened to a dog. Not you, dog. Start from Rashid Shaheed's 95-yard kickoff return, and the 49ers looked out of the fight right away. 15 seconds of the game, kickoff return for a touchdown. The Niners are behind 7-0. They're behind 10-0. They turn over the ball again. They're behind 17-3. And it just snowballed really fast. It got out of control before the Niners could go, what happened? It's 24-6 at the half. And it's just like, Papa don't hit me no more. Good grief. 41-6. And I don't think that's the worst. No, I don't think that's the worst loss the Niners have ever had in a playoff game. I know they got hammered by the Giants one year, 44-3, but it was reminiscent of one of these just going. You wanted Roger Goodell to step in like a referee and cover up the 49ers and go, okay, that's enough. Stop hitting them, because the Seahawks were merciless against their despised division rivals. They piled up the points. They piled up the Kenneth Walker had 3 touchdowns. Now, that game, of course, with 49ers also came at a tough cost as they lost Zach Charbonnet. But the Seahawks defense is bordering on frightening. The way they took apart. And again, yeah, the 49ers were missing a lot of pieces, but I don't think if they had been at full strength, I don't think that the Niners would have been able to keep up with the Seahawks, because the Seahawks just were relentless. The whole game, start to finish, they were not threatened. Start with that opening kickoff, and it was just all downhill for the 49ers. 41-6, they're hosting the NFC title game on Sunday. Now, who are the Broncos and Seahawks respectively going to be facing? That will be decided on the Sunday games. Early Sunday game, Texans versus Patriots. My dumbass picks the Texans. Oh yeah, CJ Stroud's going to really bounce back from his uneven performance against the Steelers. But he kept turning over the ball. And he kept turning over the ball. And, oh yeah, he kept turning over the ball. And while the Patriots aren't world beaters, they don't have this frighteningly high-powered offense. If you give a pyromaniac a blowtorch enough times and say, here, let me light it for you. Here, let me light it for you. He's going to burn the house down. Sooner or later, they're going to get you. And the Patriots, in front of a crazy home crowd, first home playoff game at Gillette in 7 years, they were nuts. I shouldn't say the first play that, but in front of a Patriots crowd, looking to get the Patriots to AFC title game for the first time in 7 years. It just like they were relentless. And when CJ Stroud keeps throwing interceptions, and he looked shook back there after he threw his first interception, and the Patriots pass rush and defense just kept hitting him and knocking him down. CJ Stroud went from skittish to gun shy to just shell shocked. You looked at him and he had this look on his face, this 1,000-yard stare, like, what's wrong with you, man? Are you okay? It seemed like they just kept hitting him and punching him and slapping him around. And it was just like, come on, son, do something. Yeah, but I was puzzled as why the Texans offense just did not get into gear. And CJ Stroud had a lot to do that. That's the 3rd straight year that the Texans have made the playoffs and absolutely failed in the divisional round. They're 0-7 in the divisional round. They are the only NFL team to have not played in their respective conference finals. And this team is talented, is way too talented to be stuck in this divisional loop. They can't get a home game to play in the divisional round, and they're just stuck. So the Patriots move on to Denver, where Drake May be the favored quarterback in this matchup. Remember, Jarrett Stidham used to be a Patriot behind Tom Brady at one time. But you just think that if Stidham can't get the offense in gear quick enough, even though they're at home, the Patriots may pull that road upset. And it may not be an upset. The Patriots are 5.5-point favorites. We'll detail the games here a little bit later in the show. But finally, we had the Rams and the Bears in frigid Soldier Field. Game time temperature in the single digits. It was snowing. Many people harking back to that 85 Bears team that shut out the Rams in the 85 NFC title game. But it wasn't like that. Both teams kind of punching and counterpunching. Game tight, tie going in the 4th quarter. Rams take the lead. Rams have the lead. Rams turn the Bears away inside the 10. You're thinking, okay, the Rams are going to pull this one out, but they don't leave. They leave too much time, and the Bears come back down the field. but they stall inside the 10. And you're thinking, the Bears are going to run out of time. The magic fairy tale is going to end. Caleb Williams goes back. He keeps going back, fading back. I'm thinking, where is this guy going? He's just going to throw the ball. This is going to be ugly. Who are you? Why did Cole Kmet just happen to be at the other end of that rainbow prayer? I'm watching this game and nearly fell off the couch. No, you didn't, Caleb Williams. Just throw a 15-yard, in the books when it's 15-yard touchdown pass, but you threw that ball. Okay, let's try it again. Where was that? Oh, yeah. How did Caleb Williams make that throw? How did he know Cole Kmet was going to be there? He didn't. He threw it up on a wing and a prayer. And I don't want to hear people say it was weighted as the play was designed. It's one of those, he sees him in the corner, he throws it. He's like somebody, anybody. If the ball had a fell short in the end zone, nobody would have blamed Caleb Williams because they would have said he at least took a shot. He at least made the attempt. The fact that Cole Kmet was there, and a lot of people thought you score the touchdown, go for the win. Go for the win right there. I would not have blamed Ben Johnson in the least if he had been standing on the sidelines going two, going for two. And I would have loved the gambler mentality. Let's win it right here. Put it on line, win or lose. They kicked the extra point, tied the game, and went into overtime. Both teams, of course, the way the overtime rules are now, get a shot at the ball. And both teams had a shot at the ball. The Rams had the ball, punted. The Bears had the ball, couldn't move the ball. The Rams had the ball, punted. The Bears had the ball. And you're thinking, okay, you got a second chance. First score, now it's sudden death. First team score wins. Get the ball into Rams territory, and he throws an interception. DJ Moore, what are you doing? Or what weren't you doing? I think DJ Moore gave up on that route way too early, and the ball gets picked off, and the Rams have the ball. When you give an old pro like Matt Stafford enough chances to beat you, he's going to do it. And he moved the Rams down the field with surgical precision. The man's an old pro. He's been doing this for a long time, kids. Matthew Stafford drives Rams down the field. The Rams kick the field goal, walk off with a 20-17 win, and punch their ticket to the NFC title game. Now, we'll preview the two games here in a little bit, but it's, to me, just amazing how these playoff games have went. All of them have been good games, with the exception of the Seahawks taking belt ass to the 49ers, but all the games have been really, really good. They've been decisive. Even the Steelers-Texans game, which was 30-6, but that game collapsed in the fourth quarter. That was a 7-6 game in the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden it was boom, 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 and the Texans just laid haymaker after haymaker on the Steelers, and the Steelers just collapsed. But the divisional round pretty much lived up to the hype. The wild card round was crazy. The divisional round was crazy. So now you're going to have two games, two conference championship games, to see who goes to Santa Clara for the 60th Super Bowl. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and I can't wait till next week. Let's take a time out, come back with the conference championship previews, as well as more coaching carousel spinning, a surprise firing, and a not so surprising hiring. Sports from the Hoodwood continues after this. If I can stop the tape.
Is today your last day on Earth because you are being deployed to space tomorrow? Have you just turned 18 and you're ready to get out of your parents' house? Has your granddaughter gotten her boyfriend pregnant? Whatever your reason, you need us at GottaGetMarriedNow.com. We specialize in last-minute weddings. Active duty, military veterans and retired discounts are available. Visit us at GottaGetMarriedNow.com.
You're tuned in to Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for the most honest insight, thorough analysis, and unfiltered opinion on the world of sports. Now, once again, here's the man of the hour, After Hours, your host, KJ Green.
You are back in the Hoodwood. My name's KJ Green, and the number's 10. 10 coaches in this year's Coaching Carousel, and this one was a surprise. Sean McDermott getting the gate in Buffalo after 7 years, and that one caught me by surprise. Yes, the Bills had another failure in the playoffs. Yes, the Bills are still looking for their first Super Bowl in over 30 years. But I thought that Sean McDermott and Josh Allen were the right combo to get the Bills to that next level. Now, of course, the Bills are moving into a new stadium, and many people think, okay, let's make a clean break. But Josh Allen is just 30. Josh Allen isn't an over-the-hill quarterback. The window for the Bills is still wide open. And now you're wondering who's going to be the man to take that job in Buffalo. The candidates are numerous. One of those candidates that it will not be in Buffalo is Robert Saleh. Took the job at Tennessee. Defensive coordinator for the 49ers. One-time coach of the Jets. Coached the Jets for 3.5 seasons before getting the gate in Gotham. Now it's a fresh start in Tennessee. Many people thought he'd been a better fit in Pittsburgh, Baltimore. But Titans jumped on their man, and they will look to the former 49ers defensive coordinator as the man to take them into the latter half of the decade. Miami also getting a new coach, Jeff Hafley, the defensive coordinator for Green Bay, making the move to South Beach. Hafley being a first-time head coach for the Dolphins. Dolphins like getting first-time coaches in South Beach. They don't like retreads. I think after Jimmy Johnson and Dave Wanstead, I think they're like, you know what, we're just going to go with new guys every time. Miami's new general manager, John Eric Sullivan, worked with Hafley in Green Bay. Sullivan was the director of vice president of player personnel in Green Bay, and now making sort of a lateral move, going from Green Bay to Miami, but taking Hafley with him. So they have some familiarity there. Not a lot known about Hafley. He was a decent defensive coordinator in Green Bay, but a first-time head coach. Biggest move, as I predicted on this podcast last week, John Harbaugh, who was given the gate by the Baltimore Ravens after 18 seasons in Charm City, moves to Gotham to become the Giants head coach. And that was not a big surprise to this reporter. I thought that, after Baltimore unceremoniously dumped Harbaugh, that a team in New York was going to pounce on him quickly, and they did, signing him to a 5-year deal. So now there are 7 coaching slots that are now wide open. Baltimore, Cleveland, Buffalo, the Las Vegas Raiders, Arizona. You have 7 teams now that are looking for coaches. And it's one of those things where you expect there to be turnover every year for coaching staffs. But almost a third of the league? Are you serious? If you'd have told me 2-3 years ago that Zach Taylor was going to be the dean of the AFC North and that Mike Vrabel would be going from Tennessee to New England and be the most tenured coach in the AFC East, I'd have laughed at you. But now the coaching carousel just continues to spin wildly and round and round, and where these coaches are landing, nobody knows. Like I mentioned before, now there are 4. 4 teams left for the chase to the Super Bowl, to be in Santa Clara in 2 weeks for the 60th edition of the Super Bowl. All 4 teams very capable of hoisting the Vince Lombardi Trophy on the second Sunday in February. But to get to Santa Clara, they have to win their respective conference championships. So here we are. 4 teams, 2 games. Let's take a look. The AFC title game, we have the 16-3 Patriots with the number 2 seed as the AFC East champ, at the 15-3 Broncos, who are the number 1 seed and the AFC West champ. Game being played at Empower Field in at Mile High in Denver. 3 o'clock kickoff on CBS. The Patriots are 5.5-point favorites. Last week, the divisional round, the Patriots defeated number 5 seed and number 1 AFC wildcard Houston 28-16, while the Broncos defeated number 2 wildcard, number 6 seed Buffalo 33-30 in overtime to reach this game. This is the team's 6th playoff meeting and the 5th of these meetings in Denver. The home team has won every meeting, with Denver winning in the 1987 and 2006 divisional rounds and the 2014 and 2016 AFC championships, respectively, while New England defeated the Broncos in the 2012 AFC divisional round. Now, both of these teams have won considerably and have been on sizable winning streaks during the season. The Broncos winning a thrilling shootout with the Bills, but it came at a terrible cost, as I mentioned earlier, as they lose the services of Bo Nix, their young star quarterback, to a fractured ankle. Jarrett Stidham will pilot the Broncos in his stead. Many have to worry if he will be able to have the necessary preparation to take on a formidable Patriots defense, who battered and bruised Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud to the limit of his limit of his sanity, as they sacked him a number of times, picked him off 4 times in their divisional win. Young Drake May has raised a lot of eyebrows. Many people think he is a solid MVP candidate. He's not flashy. He's not overly big-armed or, a running crazy quarterback or someone who is imposing his will on teams like his predecessor Tom Brady once did. Instead, he pilots the Patriots with a calm, quiet hand, and the team has rallied around him to get big wins. The question is now will Stidham be able to take over the Broncos at home and pilot them to a win against a team that many people feel is their equal in pretty much every stat? I don't think Stidham's going to be ready. Stidham's a decent quarterback, journeyman quarterback, if you will, but he has bounced from New England to Las Vegas to other venues, and he has not proven himself to be a grade A quarterback. Good fill-in, but nothing that you're going to write home about. And this puts him at a distinct disadvantage against a freewheeling Patriots defense that will change up looks, change up formations, and chase him to the point where he will make a mistake. And he will make a few mistakes. As long as Drake May doesn't try to do too much, continue to lean on a decent running game and a decent receiving core, I think that the Patriots carry the day. Had Bo Nix been in the game, is he that much of a difference? I believe so. I think he would have been able to match May blow for blow. But Stidham is a poor substitute for Bo Nix. And despite what people think about Sean Payton being the quarterback whisperer, I don't think his whispering will be enough in this short of a turnaround to make a difference. The Patriots return to the Super Bowl for the first time in 7 years. The pick here is New England. Turning to the NFC title game, we have the 14-5 Los Angeles Rams with 5 seed, the number 1 NFC wild card, at the 15-3 Seahawks, who are the number 1 seed as the NFC West champ. Game being played at Lumen Field in Seattle, 6:30 kickoff on Fox. The Seahawks are 2.5-point favorites. Last week, the Rams defeated NFC number 2 seed, NFC North champ Chicago Bears 20-17 in overtime, while the Seahawks defeated number 6 seed, number 2 NFC wildcard 49ers 41-6. This is the team's 3rd playoff meeting all time. The Seahawks, the Rams defeating the Seahawks 27-20 in the 2004 NFC wildcard and 30-20 in the 2020 NFC wildcard round, both those games being played in Seattle. These two teams are very, very familiar with one another, and had it not been for a 38-37 Seahawk win late in the season, this game would have been played in LA. That how close these two teams were to one another in a thrilling matchup. Now, these two teams face off for higher stakes in the NFC title game. Matthew Stafford has piloted the Rams to a pair of thrilling close victories on the road. So playing on the road should not be a problem, even though Lumen Field is one of the toughest venues in the NFL. After winning 2 games by 3 points each over the Panthers and Bears respectively, going into Seattle should not be as tough a problem as one would think. But this is a different Seahawks team. They give up points grudgingly. They're frightening evisceration of the by the 49ers in the divisional round, lay testament to that. But I still have questions. Sam Darnold, is he capable of leading a team to a title? Is he capable of putting a team on his back? He hasn't had to do too much over the past few weeks. Just play, if you will, caretaker football. The 49ers were out of the fight from the word go when Rashid Shaheed ran the opening kickoff back 95 yards for a touchdown. The game was over pretty much before it started. So Darnold wasn't pretty much tested or put in any kind of harm's way. That being said, the Rams are a different team. The Rams have defense. The Rams can stand up to the Seahawks defense. They scored 37 points, albeit in a loss, but they scored a lot of points on the Seahawks defense, a defense that gives up points grudgingly with an attitude. This will be probably one of the best games of the playoffs. And this has been an absolutely thrilling playoff season. But I think it'll be a shootout that'll come down to the final gun. And for some reason, I just cannot rely on Sam Darnold. There's something about him in a big game that I think he will come up small when the chips are big. I think Matthew Stafford will play up to his MVP level, and that the Rams will pull off a road upset. Like the Patriots do in Denver, the home teams will go home very, very sad. The pick here is the Los Angeles Rams. And there you have it. Last week I was 2-2 on my picks. We're not even going to talk about how bad things are. And we don't do playoff upsets or locks. And that's that. There you have it. We'll take another timeout and come back with the Hoodwood Hot 5, Phat, Dap, Head Slap, and the final word from the wood. Sports from the Hoodwood heads down the home stretch after this. Rounding third and headed for home here in the Hoodwood, we'll finish up strong with the Hoodwood Hot 5, Phat, Dap, Head Slap, and the final word from the wood. The subject for this week's Hoodwood Hot 5, with the NBA All-Star starters being announced just this past Monday. Of course, I still don't understand the whole format with the USA supposed to be playing the world. Why are you naming Western Conference and Eastern Conference starters? Make this make sense. But in any case, when you name teams, you're going to have people left out. And my Hoodwood Hot 5 are the 5 biggest snubs of the starting lineups, or I should say the conference starters. Now in the East, you have Cade Cunningham, Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Maxey of the Sixers, Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics, and Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks being named as Eastern Conference starters. Steph Curry, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of Oklahoma City, Luka Doncic of the LA Lakers, Victor Wembanyama of the San Antonio Spurs, and Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets being named Western Conference starters. And I'm still trying to figure out, if we're having USA versus the world, why do we need conference starters? But that's neither here nor there. My hot 5 are the 5 players that I feel that got snubbed as all-star starters. And I'll start with Right off the top, Anthony Edwards of the Minnesota Timberwolves. He is averaging 29.9 points a game and is being basically the engine that's keeping the Timberwolves relevant in the Western Conference. They are basically a top 5 team in the Western Conference because of Ant-Man. But he wasn't named an all-star starter. And I know it's a numbers game and somebody's got to get left off, and he got left off. So he's on this list. Our number 2 player that I feel that got unjustly snubbed is Donovan Spider Mitchell of the Cavs. He's averaging 29 points a game. His offense keeps the Cavs in games. If it wasn't for Spider Mitchell, the Cavs would be irrelevant, not only as an Eastern team in the playoff hunt, but as a team altogether. Our number 3 player that I think was unfairly snubbed was Lauri Markkanen of Utah. Now, I know the Jazz are just horrible. They did knock off my Timberwolves on Tuesday night, but Markkanen is averaging 27.9 points a game. How is he not getting consideration for All-Star team? Somebody make that make sense. Our number 4 player that I think got unjustly snubbed, and this one may really catch you off guard, Denny Avdija of Portland. And you go, who? This is a young man I didn't know a lot about. I'll be blunt and honest. Never heard of him. But this kid is averaging close to 27 points a game. 26 points actually, 26.2 points a game. 11th in the NBA. He was actually a lottery pick in 2020. That's probably why a lot of people didn't hear of him, because a lot of people didn't pay attention to the 2020 draft. But in his 5th season, he is playing out of his mind, averaging 26.2 points a game, 7.1 rebounds, and 6.9 assists. This kid is shooting the lights out for a otherwise unremarkable Portland team. He should have really gotten real consideration for the All-Star team. And then 5th, and of course people are going to go, oh Lord, really? Is LeBron James. In his 3rd season in the NBA, he has been named an All-Star starter in all but one of them. Wasn't even considered as an All-Star starter for this year. Yeah, I know he missed a bunch of games with sciatica, but many people wonder if he might get a kind of auxiliary start the way Michael Jordan did in 2003 when Vince Carter gave up his starting spot for him in the All-Star game in Atlanta. This might actually happen as well, so stay tuned. That's my Hot 5. What's yours? Now let's look at the Hoodwood Phat Dap and Head Slap. Our Phat Dap of the week goes to Adrian Stubbs, who scored, and when I saw the numbers, and I'm like, this can't be real, but it is real. 100 points for the Maryville High senior 5. Isn't even ranked any kind of blue blood programs. You know, he doesn't have any star ranking or anything, but 100 points in 3 quarters. And when I saw, I'm like, looked up the stats, looked up the guy is just driving to the hole. I'll show you some of the highlights. This guy is just taking the ball around. Nobody else is shooting because the guy cannot miss. Dropping 100 points in a 109-25 win over Kofa High School in Yuma, Arizona. Tuesday. Just 100 points. And just 100 points itself is crazy. But to do it in 3 quarters, breaking the previous state record, 75 points that have been held for over 60 years. And this guy is like, it says in the quote, my mindset is always the same for every game, is to kill and do whatever to win. Trust me, this kid was straight balling. And it just makes, it don't make no sense. To score that many points. Our head slap of the week is regarding basketball as well. I have a problem with the NCAA to begin with. But Charles Bediako of Alabama entered the 2023 draft, signed a two-way contract with the Spurs, but now he has a temporary restraining order to return to the team in college basketball. That's my head slap of the week. What are we doing here, folks? I don't have a problem with players who have played in the G League, played in Europe, haven't played any pro ball, and haven't played in college, being able to go to college and play. G League, I'm kind of, but, players in Europe are able to do it. I don't have a problem with it, playing the G League. But to be in the draft, get drafted, sign a two-way, and then decide, I'm going to go back to school. No, I don't have a problem with a player declaring for the draft, deciding, the draft is not for me and taking his name out of the draft. I don't have a problem with a player, deciding, he wants to play pro and it doesn't work out, that he doesn't get drafted, getting a look from college scouts. That's not a problem. But to sign a contract with NBA and then decide, I'm going to go back to school after just because he's sitting on the bench. No. There needs to be a line drawn between who is eligible and who is not. If you've played a pro contract with the NBA, that should cut your college eligibility. Head slap to the whole mechanism of the NCAA. There needs to be rules. There needs to be structure. Now, without much further ado, let's go to the final word from the wood. Carlos Beltran and Andrew Jones are the newest members of the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, being elected in the latest vote, Beltran receiving 84% of the vote and Andrew Jones receiving about 77% of the vote. Being named on the ballots, they joined Jeff Kent, who was elected by the Veterans Committee, as the newest members of the Valhalla of baseball. The way that they were elected, I don't have a big problem with it. They have to be named to the Hall of Fame. You have to be on 75% of the ballots. Fair enough. But it is who is named as voters that can elect these players are all baseball writers. How is that appropriate? Baseball writers, newspaper writers. Newspaper has been a dead and dying medium of media for the last 15, 20 years, if not longer. Now, there are some good newspaper writers. I know quite a few of them. But the thing that troubles me is that we're 26 years into the 21st century. Why is it just limited to baseball writers? I would think that the Hall of Fame, to get the best people into the Hall of Fame, needs a more wider and diverse member of its voting clientele, not just baseball writers. I would think members of the baseball media, a Bob Costas, a Marty Brennaman, people who have seen the game, report on the game, and not just writers, but I'm talking about reporters, having a better balance of not just writers, but former players who have played the game and who can measure the man or men, if you will, who are being chosen for this great honor. When the Baseball Hall of Fame was first conceived in the 90s, the only way that most people could get their media or information was from baseball writers. So it made sense that baseball writers were the quote-unquote gatekeepers of baseball's most sacred honor. Almost 100 years later, the landscape has changed. Media and the way people get their information disseminated is vast and varied. And there are more ways to get information now than it was when the Baseball Hall of Fame first started nearly 100 years ago. There are places for writers, but not just writers who write for newspapers. There are media members that could have input for the Hall of Fame and make better informed judgments and choices. Now, there are players that may never get to the Hall of Fame Though Pete Rose is eligible, he is far removed from the eligibility requirements. The Veterans Committee holds his fate. But players like Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Alex Rodriguez, as well as other teams the players that may have been tied to PED scandals of the early 21st century. They are locked in purgatory. And the writers, baseball newspaper writers, if you will, now hold the key. They are the gatekeepers. I think with a wider, more diverse selection of voters, changing the voters to not just baseball writers, but to other media outlets, would make the vote a lot more fair. Right now, there's a dearth of players that are eligible for the Hall of Fame. The biggest name next year coming on the ballot will probably be Buster Posey. But you have players like Chase Utley, Jimmy Rollins, who are still on the ballot that are waiting their turn. But they only get 10 chances on the ballot before they're shipped off to the Veterans Committee, as Manny Ramirez has just been after his 10th failure to achieve the 75% voting status. Again, a more diverse populace of voters would make the Hall of Fame voting a lot more fair and a lot more modern. And I think players like Bonds, Clemens, Rodriguez, and Ramirez may still be locked out, but they'll be locked out by a more modern and diverse way of voting. And that is the final word from the Wood. Now, with the music coming up in the background, you know that means that your time here in the Hoodwood is just about done, and I thank you so much for your visit. Now, the show's email is kjgreen@sportsfromthehoodwood.com. Please send me emails regarding show topics, both past and future, questions, comments on the show, and both praise and criticism. I welcome your correspondence, and we'll try to get back to you in a timely manner. Now, the show's website is sportsfromthehoodwood.com, which has a back catalog of the show dating back 12 years in both audio and video forms. So do check that out if there are any shows that you may have missed. You can join the debate and conversation on the Sports from the Hoodwood Facebook page. That also has the video podcast simulcast of the show, as well as other topics, funny stuff that I find on the web, and plenty of other great sports debate, and lots more. I post often there and respond to member posts frequently. Now, the video versions are also on YouTube. Please hit that subscribe and smash those like buttons for more great content. Now, the link to the podcast is also on the show's Blue Sky feed, which I do know has been up and down. We're trying to get that back up. It's at hoodwoodsports.bsky.social. That has a host of other interesting stuff to find there. Your correspondence with the show is encouraged, and we do respond back. So do like and follow there as well. Now, the audio version is on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Samsung Podcast, Apple Podcasts, and a host of other fine podcast platforms and programs. Now, if the Hoodwood is not on your favorite, do ask for it. Drop me a line, and I'll see what I can do to get it there. Now, we've expanded our podcast availability thanks to your correspondence, and I thank you so much for getting back to me. And as always, special thanks to Rage Pictures for providing production assistance to both the show and the website. So that's it from the Hoodwood, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Until next time, fellow sports fans, I'm Merely Bev's son, KJ Green.
Sports from the Hoodwood
is a Black Bandit Productions and Enterprises presentation
of a 551 Audio and Films production.